going to talk about the solarium. Lynn's going to very carefully walk down in here because with the camera she's just be very careful there. Okay.
I don't have to be all the way down here.
Well, you do, because I'm going to show the stuff that's...
Oh, okay.
Right now it's kind of dirty. It hasn't been cleaned. That happens. And it's very woolly right now. Okay, so why is it so woolly? Because all summer long we let everything grow. I only trim it this time of year. Okay? And I trim it this time of year because if Lynn will point up, you'll see there's a giant behind that ficus tree. That's all new growth. I will trim it back very hard. That's a giant skylight. Right. Okay, this solarium we added on the house cost me, by the time I got done, I think we had, what, $1,500 in it? And that was like 20 years ago, though. So, but every piece of glass in it, including the ginormous skylight, were all trash that we didn't pay for. All the plexi that's in here, these great big pieces of plexi, that one, those two on the sides of the actual aviary, all of those, CJ Cherry got rid of. She had a huge Finch aviary. She got tired of dicking with it. And when I was working on she and Jane Fancher's house, because they were remodeling to sell, when I was helping them work on the house, they gave me all this plexi. They gave me truckloads of crap, by the way. But at any rate, so none of that cost anything. The only thing I paid for is the stained glass, which you can hardly see now because of the plant life, but the plant life will be going here in a minute. Okay, so this room, one of the reasons the plant life has to get cut back this time of year is this room is passive solar and helps heat the entire back of our house.
Right.
We have one gas furnace that we use that's in the kitchen, one that's in the office. And the rest of the house we heat with wood, and of course the wood heats the whole house. Right. But in the back it would get cold if we didn't have the heat. But because of this room, that furnace only clicks on if we have an extended period of time when the temperatures drop below 40 degrees and there is no sun.
Right.
As long as there's sun, heats the entire back of the house. One of the reasons is all of the dirt helps catch and store heat, but also it's got a concrete floor. The concrete floor helps, but this and the stairs are heat sinks. They're filled entirely with bottles. Bottles, concrete. Bottles, concrete. Bottles, concrete. The heat hits it, absorbs into it, goes into the bottles, goes into the concrete, and then all night, between the dirt, the concrete, the bottles, this place stays warm. Mm-hmm. We don't put a heater in here. We used to, and then we realized we didn't need one. We don't put a heater in here. Okay, but in the summertime, the same thing that's cool in the wintertime, not so cool in the summertime. You saw me take off the thing that goes on top of this.
The lattice.
That keeps the sun from...
and shade cloth.
The lattice and shade cloth. You saw me doing that. Okay, but I also, like I said, I'm going to trim all this stuff back. And then in the spring, it'll start growing again, because it kind of slows down for the winter. But it starts growing again. Pretty soon, it gets like a jungle in here. And then that blocks the sun. Also, if she'll turn around, over the top of the aviary, kind of show them the aviary anyway. We have parakeets in the aviary. See up there? That's a vent at the top of the wall. In the summertime, we turn that vent on and it sucks the heat off the top of this room, which keeps this from heating the rest of the house up in the summertime. So what I've got to do now, and we'll show it to you later, is I've got to trim all this. Why? Because we're getting ready to have 33-degree temperature tonight and a possibility of frost. So I need to get all of the plants that I'm going to take out of the garden and out of the the herbs that I bring in the wintertime, I've got to get them and I've got to jack them in here before it gets cold.
Right.
But first I have to trim all this back.
Right.
Which is going to be a huge pile, which I will have Lynn show you later. And it will not look as pretty when I get done. So that's why we're showing it to you now. We actually have some really neat plants in here, by the way. I'm going to show them to you. This palm tree I cut back last year because it was on the ceiling.
Yeah, it was all the way up on the ceiling and bending.
And bending over. It'll grow up there again. I found it by the side of the road. Somebody had thrown it away. They threw it away. The pot was broken, and they threw it away. And I thought, I bet I can make that live. So that's where that came from. This one, which is now huge, and you can see I've had to cut it back and cut it back. This one, Mitch McDonald gave me, wherever Mitch is. I think he still lives in the area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but these saguaro I'm very proud of. My friend Suzette Hayden-Elgin gave us these 2 saguaro cacti. They were about this big. She had raised them from seed.
Yeah, because it's illegal to do otherwise.
Yeah, it's illegal to do it otherwise. But at any rate, so we've had them ever since. And so they're in here. And I wanted to mention Suzette too, because if Lynn will pan down here on the floor. You see this post here? This post here, little Willie was driving when he was about 16, well, about 17. He had a new car that he had bought, okay? And he was driving, he wasn't paying attention because he was apparently smoking a joint, which he didn't tell me until years later. And he told me a deer ran out in front of him. That was his excuse. But at any rate, he plowed into a fence line that I had to then replace. So he and I made him go help me because after all, it was his wreck. Of course, totaled his car too, poor thing.
Rolled it, yeah, it was bad.
Let that be a lesson to you, children. Don't smoke pot and drive.
Yeah, don't smoke anything and drive.
Okay, but at any rate, so this
post.
This particular post kept his car from rolling completely over, which probably would have caused him physical injury, and fortunately he walked away with nothing. So I put it in the floor. But at any rate, and I put lots of other stuff.
Well, and in here we've got like the flower. One of the
this came from
when I brought my little girl home from the hospital.
Yes.
I mean, home when she was born. Nikki was born. That was some of the flowers, and
all of these bricks came from Morton Mark's brick collection. This one here that looks so ancient really is. It's from the original old Fort
Smith.
And you can see they're all named and stuff. These were from all of these steps and everything. They were from, and these tile works were from, this is from the old Goldman Hotel in Fort Smith. And all of this came from different places. Okay, so my friend Suzette came down here and looked at all this. This is an old insulator that I got off a pole in the middle of Colorado.
Yep.
That were down an electric pole. But anyway, there's crystals and everything else. Okay, and here's from when we went, like here's one of the terracotta soldiers from when we went to Greater Tombs of China and all that shit. Okay, so my friend Suzette came down here when we first built this. And of course it was cleaner then. And she came down here, she took one look at it, she said, and saw what it was, and I was telling her what all the different stuff was, and she said, you know, Selena, some people just make quilts. So, anyway, okay, so now I'm going to start trimming, and she's got to go make cheese. Not cut the cheese, just make the cheese. And of course, with every project here on, you know, the Rosen Farm, here at Castle Farms, every project, you wind up with more crap than you thought you were going to have to do. This mess. Okay, so what happened? This cactus, this saguaro that I'm so proud of, needs to be replanted. And this one needs new dirt because mice got in there and made a bed.
Yay.
So I went out, I got me another pot, and I got me some dirt from the composting bins.
Yeah.
Which I will use in here to fill that back up again. And of course it rained last night, so instead of having nice easy dirt to work with. I basically have mud.
Mud. Woohoo!
Yeah. So, yeah. And we have one succulent in here, which is very invasive. And it drops, okay, I'll show
Little
it to you.
spores everywhere.
Okay, so what it does is, here, Lynn, step on it. Okay. So each one of those little things on the edge, well, there's one right there. They held a seed.
Yeah.
And when they drop, basically they make little plants.
Little plants.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And they grow in rock cracks and
they
everywhere.
grow in the other plants. I have to pull them out of the other
Yep,
plants.
always. I pull them out almost every week.
And people think cacti and are easy plants, but they're only easy if you keep on top of them. Otherwise, they can go south really quickly. That one needed some major repair work. And then, okay, so the big cacti. They're always fun because they're very, very sharp.
Sharp. Yay!
So basically what I need to do though, as you can see, it needed a much bigger pot. It's root bound.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to take part of the dirt out of here. I'd already put it in there just to carry it here. I'm going to take down to, I want that to be buried pretty deep, but not too deep. So how do you work with cacti? Get leather farm gloves. And be very careful because some certain species of cacti are right through your gloves.
Yeah.
So fortunately this one's not too bad. And you can see there's hundreds of those little spore plants stuck up in the top of my plant.
Yay.
So I'm going to brush those off as good as I can. Okay, so I'm going to stick it in there. I'll put some dirt in the bottom, of course, because I want it to stand up taller than it was. And then I'm just going to fill around it. And then I'm going to pack it. Because cacti grow in the desert where the soil is very packed. So I'm going to pack that around there pretty tight. Also, this is an extremely heavy cacti.
Yeah, those.
Hopefully it's going to fit back in the window in its new pot, otherwise we're going to have to find a new spot for it.
Yeah, it may be too tall
with the new pot. That's okay. We want it to be healthy because Suzette was my very dear friend, and
we miss her terribly.
We miss her terribly. She died a few years ago. And this was a gift she gave us right after we built the solarium. They came to see the solarium. I was building a chest. She had had me build a cedar chest. She actually had me build two for her granddaughter's 16th birthdays. And they were coming to pick up the chest. And the other time we went to their house and brought the chest. But this time they wanted to come to ours. They wanted to see what we were doing. So she and George, who we also love, and I don't even know where George is.
I
So that happens. Suzanne Hayden Elgin was a very famous writer. She wrote science fiction, which is how I knew her. She was not that famous as a fiction writer. She had written, her main claim to fame is that Suzette was the person who wrote The Verbal Art of Self-Defense. The Gentle Art of Verbal Self-Defense. Which turns out most psychiatrists at some point have to read. So,
yep.
But yeah. So, and I will have to add dirt to the beds.
Over here.
That's why I got so much more than I needed for that pot. That's the only thing so far.
Because it's going down here in the corner.
Those are the only two things I've had to repot.
Yeah.
Nothing else I've had to repot. So far, those are the only two things I've had to repot. So, hopefully, I won't have to repot anything else, and I'll have enough dirt to add dirt to all these beds. Mm-hmm. Because these beds need more dirt.
Yep, the plants use it up.
The plants use it up, and if Lynn will go outside, you will get to see this little bit of stuff here. That's nothing. Lynn's going to go outside.
And I'm going to show you
the humongous pile.
Which we cannot feed to the goats because
we can't feed to the goats. So
quite a few of the inside plants are toxic.
We'll put it between a go-between.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you want me to go outside now?
Yeah, you can.
Okie dokie, will do. And this is the pile that she has already brought outside that will go into the go-betweens. There will be more, as you saw. And I don't know if you noticed where there are places on the walls where the paint was taken off. This is pothos. And you see those little root tendrils here? They dig into any surface, including concrete blocks, brick, everything, and they will tear it off. But they sure do give a lot of shade. Okay. All right, there you are.
Okay, so I got most of it done. I've got all the dirt, put it back in the potting. I've got all the plants that needed to be potted, repotted. As you can see, it's a lot more naked than it was before. And I'm sure Lynn showed you
Yes, I did.
Humongous pile of crap that I took through the freaking house.
Yes.
Now, if she'll pan down here, you can see there's a door here
Perfectly good door.
that goes into the pasture. So why did I not use that door?
Because
that
animals
damn
and their
billy
assholes.
goats out there, and animals are assholes.
Yes.
But also, because I don't use that door very much, I've got it shoved full of saran wrap in order to keep it airtight.
Airtight.
That's right, people. You got a door or window that you don't use much, windows especially, see here? I pulled it out so you can see.
Yes.
You just take your saran wrap,
You shove it in there.
Balls, basically long strips.
Long strips.
You figure out how wide you need it. Then you take a butter knife and you stick it in the crack. And it will make your door and or mostly windows you'd use it for. It'll make your window airtight. Didn't cost you very much. It's the cost of saran wrap. So
And it doesn't take a whole roll.
But yeah, so now I'm just going to sweep this up and then later on I'll bring in the plants and everything. But I think that that'll be another disc because then I don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
goodbye.
Goodbye.
And thank you for watching. Send money.